Hi there, I'm Mark Renneson and welcome to another episode of Pickleball Today. Today we are on location at Swing Pickleball Club, Collingwood, Ontario. All right, so I love to see how many new creators are out there making various pickleball content, right? And sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's very serious, but I love seeing that there's new stuff out there. Now, one of the things I've been noticing lately has been people talking about the technique they should use when hitting forehands. I'm not talking about a forehand volley or a forehand dink, even a forehand drop for that matter, but like a powerful forehand. And this could be a forehand drive that you hit from the back of the court, could even be a forehand serve, right? A sort of regular serve. And I'm seeing some information out there that it's not the best. It's not the best. Let me clarify what they're talking about and why it might not be ideal. Okay, so the thing I'm seeing a lot of has to do with hitting forehands, right, either as ground strokes or often as serves. And the suggestion here is that as you hit that forehand, right, that you should rotate around, that this back leg comes around as you hit, right? If I'm hitting a real serve, it might look like this. Can you hit a serve like that? Yes. Should you hit a serve like that? I don't think so. I don't think so. It doesn't mean you can't. Our very good friend, Frank Anthony Davis, he serves like that, and he's a very good pickleball player. So it's not like it's wrong to do it this way. But it's not the most efficient way. It's not the most efficient way to, as you swing, to have that back leg come around. Miss the serve. And here's why. So first off, let's think about balance. And let's think about a fairly common human activity, walking. When you walk, assuming you're a walker, someone who walks around, and assuming you walk like most people who walk, right, you will notice that just naturally what goes on with your upper body matches what's going on with your lower body, except they're opposites, right? So when I walk forward to you, as my left leg goes forward, my right arm goes forward. Same thing if I'm going backwards, right? We get this opposite action happening. But we do that because it's balanced, right? As that bottom half starts to go forward, right? As my bottom half starts to go forward, this left side goes across to act as a counterbalance, right? They're matching each other, they're just opposites. Try walking with your right leg and right arm going in unison, right? Try doing one of these walks, right? Doesn't feel very natural, doesn't feel very comfortable, doesn't look very comfortable. Can you do it? Yeah. But does your body want to do it? No. That's a little bit what happens when we serve and we're advocating for that back leg to come around at the same time that we're swinging, right? When I swing my arm forward and my right leg comes forward at the same time, right? That's a lot like walking with your right leg and your right arm swinging forward at the same time. Right? Is it possible? Yeah. But it's not a very balanced way to do it. But there's another reason why this isn't great technique. Okay, so I managed to find this elastic band here at Swing. Actually, several elastic bands together, but that's fine. So, what do we use elastic bands for? Well, lots of things, but I like to shoot them at people. And if you want to shoot your elastic band and make it go far or make it go fast, well, you need to create tension here, right? Because then when that tension releases, then it goes. Well, your muscles are a lot like elastics. That's why you stretch, right? They're more elasticy, they're more flexible, right? They're more flexible. Muscles are a lot like elastics. And it's important if we want to be able to generate power easily that we can create that stretch, right? If there's no stretch, then when you shoot it, you get nothing. We want to create that stretch. Now, how do you create that stretch when you're serving with your muscles? Let me show you. As I'm getting ready to serve or as I'm getting ready to hit my forehand drive, if the upper body and the bottom part of my body sort of separate, they act independently, that's how we create that stretch, right? As I rotate through here, right, we call this a pre-stretch here, right? I'm creating some stretch on this side, and then as that stretch releases, right, that's where the power comes from. Now what happens is if this bottom leg or this back leg, as I'm swinging forward here, right, we never get that tension happening, right? So we need some separation here, right? And yeah, it's fine if that back leg comes forward after the fact, after contacts happen. It's sort of like a follow through, right? You allow it to happen. But it's after the fact. We want that separation between the top half and the bottom half because that's where all that juicy power is. Juicy power, juicy power, juicy power. So you can smack those balls with very little effort. Now, we talked about this mainly in terms of hitting forehands, whether it's a forehand serve or a forehand ground stroke, right? Creating that separation in the upper half and lower half. But it's also important when we hit backhands. Imagine if as I get ready to hit my backhand, I go forward like this too, right? The left side of the upper body and the left side of the lower body, they're moving at the same time, so we're not getting that nice separation where the power is. So what's better? Well, what's better is as I'm sideways and coiling, that this rotation can happen, right? I create that stretch, I allow the power to come, and then this back leg comes forward after the fact. Looks like this. So I'm not advocating that the back legs stay back, right? We want to allow it to come forward, but it's after the fact. If we use it at the same time as contact, we're not getting that great elastic action. All right, if you've been around pickleball for any amount of time, you know that the non-volley zone, the kitchen, plays a really important role, right? We often think about the kitchen. We think about what we can do. There's t-shirts, right? Stay out of the kitchen or whatever. But what I've noticed, and this is true whether it's in person, whether it's the clinics I teach, whether it's the instructor certification courses we run, whether it's the online stuff we see, there are a lot of people out there that don't actually understand what the real rules are about the kitchen or the non-volley zone. So why don't we clarify them once and for all? Okay, so myth number one is that you cannot go into the kitchen until the ball has bounced, right? I saw this just this morning on someone's TikTok, a pickleball company saying, ooh, better not go into the kitchen until the ball has bounced. This is false. This is not a rule. Remember, the kitchen's real name is the non-volley zone. The non-volley zone, that's important. It is not called the do not enter me until the ball bounces zone. It's the non-volley zone. Right? So I can go into the kitchen. I can go into the non-volley zone whenever I want. I just can't volley if I'm in this area, right? And a volley is when we hit a ball out of the air without a bounce. That is a volley. You cannot volley in this zone, but you're allowed to go into it whenever you want, right? So this is the first thing that's really important. You can go in here. Now, why does this matter? What's an example, a real practical example of needing to know this rule that you can't go in until the ball has bounced, or the fact that that's not a rule, I guess is what I mean. Let me give you an example. All right, have you ever been playing pickleball when maybe there's an exchange at the net, bang, 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 and someone hits a ball and it's going way up high? Usually this is when someone mishits the ball, goes off the edge of their paddle and goes straight up. And that ball, as it's going straight up, you're over here thinking, wow, that ball went straight up. If it lands in the court, it's going to land so short to the net. Might not even get over the net, but if it does land, it's going to land really close to the net. Have you ever been there? I have. If I think that I cannot go into the non-volley zone until the ball has bounced, then I'll be way back here, behind my non-volley line, watching that ball come, waiting, 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 and when it finally lands, then I've got to rush to come forward to make my shot, right? And no one likes to rush forward to have to make a shot. But if I understand that I can go into the non-volley zone whenever I want, even before the ball has bounced, then when I'm back here at my non-volley line and that ball goes way high, I see it, right? I can then step forward, wait, allow it to bounce, and then smack it. No rushing necessary. So knowing this rule is going to save you some time and some rushing. Okay, so that's one rule that we sort of made sure we're clear on, right? Is that you don't have to wait to go in here. You can go in here whenever you want. You just can't volley in there. So here's another one. Of course, the non-volley zone is a two-dimensional surface, right? So I can't be touching here when I play my volley out of the air, including the line, but I can occupy the airspace, right? That's why you see players come up to the net and they get close and they reach out here. They can occupy the airspace. You can volley if you're above the line. Now we also know that if I'm straddling, you can't see, that if I'm straddling the line like this, okay, that's okay. I can still play my volley like this. I'm occupying the airspace, no problem. We know that I can come up close. I hope we do, right? Here I'm at the outside of the line, right? I can reach over the net this way. I can't reach over the net, you know what I mean? I can reach over here and play an Ernie as that ball is coming, okay? So you can occupy the airspace over the non-volley zone. You just can't be standing on the line or inside of it when you play your volley. Okay, now finally, the last rule that we've got to make sure that we're clear on. While I cannot volley on the line or inside the kitchen, the non-volley zone, I can volley from outside of it. But if I play my volley and the momentum from my volley pulls me into the non-volley zone, that's a violation. That is an infraction. And if you're coming to pickleball new from another racket sport, especially from tennis, where it's really common that you play volleys and move forward, it's likely that you're going to have this violation happen pretty frequently, at least at first. One of the tricks is that you have to be able to play your volley, right, and control your balance so you don't fall in there. Now, when does the statute of limitations expire? When can you go into the kitchen after playing your volley? Well, it doesn't expire, at least in terms of the momentum rule. I remember my very first day playing pickleball, I did one of these. I hit, whoops, I was going to fall in. I kept my balance, and I waited. My opponents hit the next shot in the net, and then I stepped forward like this. And I said, oh, I'm so glad I waited till the point was over. And they said, oh, no, you lose. There's no statute of limitations. You can be doing this for 5 minutes. The ball hit the net a long time ago, and if at 5 minutes and 1 second you step forward, because your momentum takes you forward, then you lose. Okay, so that's where really important. There's no statute of limitations. You've got to be able to hit that volley, control your balance. Okay, make sure it's not the momentum that's taking you in, and then you're fine. All right, if you've played much pickleball, I'm sure that you have tried to hit a drop from the back of the court. And there's a decent chance that that drop has set up too high, and now your opponents get to smack it, and that's no good, is it? We hit those balls too high, so how do we solve this problem, right? This is an email I get from people all the time is like, Mark, how do I avoid popping up my drops? And by the way, this can go in the same category as popping up dinks. So let me talk about it. So first things first, we have to understand what is it that controls the height of the ball, right? If I send that drop and it goes too high and my opponents get to smack it, that ball is too high. So what is it that controls height? Now, I bet if you're at home right now watching this, you say, oh, Mark, I know what controls height, the paddle angle. And that's true. That is one thing that controls the height of the ball. The more open my paddle is, the more likely that ball is going to go up. And the more closed the paddle is, the more likely that ball is going to stay lower, right? So paddle angle is one thing that controls height. True. But there's a second thing that controls how high a ball travels, and that's what we call the swing path. Now, if my swing path, let's say I have this nice straight up and down perpendicular paddle face, okay? I promise I'll keep that angle. Okay, so let's say I've got this good angle, but if I swing from high to low as I hit my drop, from high to low, then that ball is more likely to go up, right? That's how we create topspin. And if I have that same paddle angle, but I swing, let's say, from high to low, right, I come down, that ball's more likely to then go down. That's no good either, okay? And if I have a more level swing path, then I'm more likely to get a ball, it was too low, then I'm more likely to get a ball that stays lower. So that's two things that affect the height of a ball. One is the paddle angle and one is the swing path, but that's not all. A third thing that influences how high a ball goes is how fast it comes off the paddle. Now let's say you're playing a drop. I mean, I think that drops should generally be hit as a fairly straight ball, but there is some arc to it, especially if you're receiving that ball down here, which might force you to play the drop. So there is going to be some arc. The question now becomes, how big is that arc going to be? And if when the ball comes off the paddle, it's coming off really fast, it's going to be a much bigger arc, here, like this. And that bigger arc makes it more likely your opponents are going to smack it at you. And if you hit slower with that arc as the ball comes off the paddle, well, it's going to be a smaller arc, tighter to the net, like this. So the third variable when controlling height is the speed of the ball off the paddle. So we as hitters better think about, how do I control the speed of my paddle? How do I control the speed of the ball? So one factor is how fast the paddle is moving at the moment of contact. And so what we often see is people who are hitting too fast off the paddle is they will swing and they will slow it down, right? And they'll try to decelerate as they hit. The trouble is, often when that deceleration happens, it's too late and the paddle has already hit the ball and then the energy gets transferred. But there is another way to hit the ball slower, even still while accelerating. Watch. All right, so if my normal backswing is way back here, right, you can see the butt of my paddle. There's going to be a certain amount of speed created as my paddle moves toward the ball, right? It gathers speed as it's going toward the ball, it gathers momentum, that momentum gets transferred to the ball, and then it goes pretty fast, right? If I swing the same way, but instead of having my paddle way back here, I only bring it back to here, let's say. It's got only a third of the distance to travel before contact. Well, now all of a sudden it's going to be a lot easier for me to hit the ball slowly because the paddle doesn't gather as much momentum. Here, why don't we look at this from another angle? Okay, so I'm doing this as a backhand now. So again, if my backswing is way back here, let's call this a 10 out of 10. Even if I don't swing that fast, it's got so much distance it's traveling before contact, the paddle's going to gather a lot of momentum, which gets transferred to the ball. And then all of a sudden I've got too much speed as it comes off and it sits up and they smack it. But instead of having this 10 out of 10 backswing, let's say I just bring it back to here. Let's call it a 6 out of 10. Well, now when I swing, even if I accelerate, that ball is going to travel a lot slower because the paddle hasn't gathered so much momentum. And if I want it even slower than that, let's call it a 3 out of 10. Right? So this is a really important factor when it comes to controlling the height of the ball. It's controlling the speed of the ball when you're playing this drop. And having a shorter backswing can help you. Want to see a couple more? Okay, so there you have it. If you want to have better control of the height of your drops, or your dinks for that matter, you've got to have better speed control. And you're going to have better speed control if you can control the size of your backswing. All things being equal, a longer backswing will produce more speed and a higher ball when you're playing that drop, and a shorter backswing will produce less speed and a lower ball when you're playing that drop. Good luck. All right, thanks for watching Pickleball Today. I would love to know, what do you think about the show? What would you like to see more of? What would you like to see less of? Do you like this on-location stuff? Let me know. Send me an email, mark@thirdshotsports.com. Of course, you can find us on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course, TikTok. Our TikTok is doing very well. Send me a note. You can find us at Third Shot Sports. Until next time, thanks to our buddies here at Swing Pickleball in Collingwood. If you're ever in the area, be sure to check them out. Until next time, I'm Mark Renneson. See you soon. Juicy power